Hey there, it's Chris Hogg with Digital Journal. We are live at Inventures in Calgary, and I'm sitting down with Lucas McCarthy, the CEO of Showpass. Lucas, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to start out with, lots of folks in Western Canada know Showpass, lots of folks across Canada do in the US, but for those who don't know it, let's just set the stage. What does Showpass do?
Yeah, Showpass is an online ticketing platform. We support organizers, and we create really unique tools to help support their events.
And so your space has traditionally been dominated by lots of big players. What do you think, when you set out to build, what was structurally missing for you? Why did you say, I want to go tackle this problem?
One of the priorities that we went after was a shortfall in capital. Like, we didn't have a ton of capital going into this. So we needed a business. We're capitalists at heart, the founding team, myself. So we said, what can we build with as little amount of money as possible? So that was a big key driver.
Mm-hmm.
And this one has a unique business structure, which I can talk about. But the second piece really, if you look at the average NPS score of industries, this industry as a whole, not just the behemoths, but the industry as a whole has an NPS score low single digits or negative.
Dismal.
It's brutal. Nobody likes their vendor in my space. So it's a really interesting problem to solve,
mm-hmm.
Because it's a B2B to C, and the C's are, they hate
hard to please
the original B,
yeah.
which is us. So that mid-level B has a different relationship than the C's do.
Yeah. So what's unique about the business? You mentioned that you've got a different approach to this.
Well, going into this, what we needed to be a little bit more unique was the capital structure, because we didn't want to spend a bunch of time raising capital. So coming into this, we basically took a look at how businesses operate. And we said, well, cash flow is going to be fairly critical. Ticketing is unique because if you bought a ticket to something in a week or a year or whatever, you don't need an accounts receivable department.
Mm-hmm.
You never need to chase down your money. You always get to clip it as it comes in, which is a super unique business model.
Mm-hmm.
So we never have to chase money. It's always in the account, and then we delay that payment until the event happens, typically. Now, as we've scaled the business, that's become not as centric of a model. But it is that was one of the critical reasons we founded the company. And then as far as uniqueness as the business goes, this is actually an interesting problem that we're trying to solve internally right now is, the company as it originated was a very different, unique value prop. We serviced organizers that had a shortfall in humans.
Mm-hmm.
So the human aspect, call it customer support, client or customer service, anything like that, we augmented in a really unique way. So we put that last C first. So that final consumer, the end user, we put them very, very, very high in our order of importance, which nobody was doing. So, we prioritized things like putting people on phones, putting people on site, making our brand aware at locations so that everyone knew that if they had a problem with their ticketing, there was actually someone they could talk to.
Mm-hmm. You still do that today?
We still do that with a lot of our events.
Okay.
The difference now is that we have tens of thousands of events, and so we've got to pick and choose.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was really the origin story of our value prop and what our unique kind of service offering was. And since then, it's kind of transformed to grow. So that exact same thesis of how are we augmenting the organizers, call it employee stack. COVID decimated most of these folks' employees basis.
Yep.
If you look at some of the largest entertainment companies or providers in the world, they've got sponsorship people. They've got you can move down the list and say that why does that person even exist? But for the majority of events that exist in anybody's day to day, the people who are throwing those events, it's like a 1 to 5 person shop,
mm-hmm.
and they do everything. Now, there are businesses that do $30 million a year in gross ticket sales, and there's 5 people. You think of the numbers of that, and it doesn't make a ton of sense, but because they have tools whether they're created by us or our competitors, we've really prioritized in augmenting that experience for a lot of organizers. So being able to help assist with like venue bookings or artist bookings, audience matching tools, going through and helping with financing, and so they don't have to go to the bank and raise or put pitch decks together and things like that. We created a lot of those tools and will continue to create a lot of those tools to help like improve that organizer experience.
And your organizers, they're everything from large scale concerts to berry picking events and small curling things,
Totally.
right?
We have the largest. I mean, these are some cool examples. We have the largest Wizard of Oz theme park in the world. We also have down the street in this very building. I think we do a few dozen events a year. So it's a unique. Globally, I think we have the most agnostic service platform in the space. So yeah, the berry picking piece is super niche. Nobody can really build a business specifically on berry picking platforms.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have some of the largest music festivals in the country and in the continent. So there is this like widespread, obviously service offering that we can give, but that's all centered around this discovery aspect, where our thesis on that final C is that in order to deliver them like an amazing experience, they need to understand everything that's going on in a city. They need to know that the berry picking is there.
Yeah.
They need to know that they can go to the theme park. They need to that they can go to a museum, a dining under the stars, a fancy disco with, rosé. Like all these things that you can do, you need to know and be aware of. So our platform understands that on a Tuesday, you may be a sporting fan. And on a Friday, you may be a rosé fan. And those are all the same people that a lot of other companies like disaggregate into different audiences, but not us. So that's really the idea that people should segment a ticketing company or a vendor into verticals doesn't really make a ton of sense because the end user is the same.
You're very much part of the communities that you're helping service, it sounds like. And from a personalization standpoint or matching, like, are you using technology in specific ways to figure that out?
Yeah, it's a big part of kind of the next generation of our platform, being able to look at an audience or an individual and being able to say, this person liked this product, whether it's a beer festival or whether it's a tattoo show or whether it's an RV show, and be able to offer some type of direct correlated item that person we feel is a fan of. And that is super unique because it's so hard to figure that out. If we talk about some of the behemoths and the elephants in the room, call it, those types of platforms are operated and really focused on two verticals, which is like live entertainment or concerts and sports. Now, if you're one or two of those, if you're a fan of those, that's great. But how could I tell that you also love the berry picking? How could I tell that you have a family of three? How could I tell that I'd like to bring you out to this type of event or this type of event? It's very, very difficult to be able to like understand that person and be able to actually take that information, be able to produce the recommendations that actually help them find the next thing to do, whether it's with their family, their friends, or whoever. But also, on a secondary note, be able to present aggregated information and say, this is what the community wants. We have an internal department right now that works on unique events. And typically these are super small community-driven events. So one of the ones that we're working on right now is like centralized around utilizing free space in breweries and actually bringing in really unique topics of conversation to be led by just unique people. And those conversations...
You're producing those, or...
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because we see in markets that they're working. We actually, in a lot of cases, try and bring those by contacting the organizer to bring them. In some cases, they're resource strapped or just like not interested.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go after we'll go to our organizations and say, "Are you interested in this?" If they say no, we'll do it ourselves. If they say yes, but we don't have the capital, we'll finance it. So there's a lot of different options, but our goal, our central goal in all of these things is to create more opportunities for people to go do things. And that like category we call just like things to do. You know, it's super broad, but that's our business, is things to do.
How do you scale with like the model's interesting, B2B to C? The feedback loops must be all over the place. How do you deal with customer feedback at scale when you're doing product development, optimization, and then if you go down the path of curation and designing experience, how do you know what to pay attention to?
That's an interesting question, because something we've spent a lot of time doing. Like last year, one of our primary goals was to create this like recommendation engine for artists. So we would actually take attendance data, mix it with online data, and a bunch of like just publicly available information about artists and how they're performing in different cities. Map that and say, artist A should sell this many tickets in city B. Comedian A should sell this many tickets in this city and this city. So, and if we had organizers who were interested, we would actually finance that, and we would say, hey, you know, we're going to try and do this. But you know, as far as like understanding how that feedback loop and the speed at which it comes through, I mean, we still have everything in house. Our product team sits, 15 feet from me. Mm-hmm. Our CS team sits 15 feet the opposite
How big's
direction.
the team?
It's just over 100 of us now. So it's a very, we've just actually hired a bunch more people in the U.S. As of this week, which is, I was reminded about that this morning, as it related to some of our additional costs that will come from that, which I'm not super excited about, but I'm really excited to like expand into those territories and to like spend more time in that.
So the road ahead for Showpass, you've talked about curation, designing. You keep mentioning financing. I'd love to unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
To hear an experience company, if I can call you that simply. Why do you finance? Why do you even consider financing these things? It's not an obvious thing from an outsider looking in at a tech company, but you're more than a tech company.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of companies that have come into our space and actually claim that they're a fintech, which is I think a wild claim, but probably not that far from the truth in a lot of ways. So I'll put it this way: is there is no better the information asymmetry between an organizer and a potential investor is like, it's insane. Mm-hmm. Now, if you wanted to go to the bank and you wanted to get a loan on your house, the information asymmetry is like, they've got the power. They know exactly how much your house is worth. In fact, if they don't, they're going to send someone out and just make sure they're right. For us, we have the advantage from information asymmetry. And if we don't utilize it properly to determine what is a good investment or what is a bad investment, it's almost challenging. Like, we're taking away from the industry. And I think that that's what a lot of companies in our space have succumbed to, is like, we're just going to sit back and enjoy everybody else taking all the risk. We've participated in risk, and we have lost our shirts in some, and we've bought a few dozen shirts in other circumstances. But I mean, those all take a lot of time to refine those models. We've got a tremendous finance team that really understands how risk can be avoided and mitigated. But I think in short, why do it? The market can bear it. There is no shortage of people who are interested in spending time experiencing new things. Mm-hmm. And that's the short answer. The long answer is there's money to be made. You know, there are experiences that are happening in Germany and London and all over Europe and Asia and Australia that have never even hit North America, that are some of the most interesting things that someone could ever do. And because we've not experienced it yet for whatever reason, no one is taking that risk. And a lot of this risk is it is crazy, because if you actually think of how events work and function, I mean, we're at a major event right now, and you may not realize it, but like that, like vinyl that covers that pillar over there costs a tremendous amount of money.
Yeah.
And a lot of these ticket sales didn't happen until the last, call it, I don't know, 3-4 days. Like the revenue curve at which events happen is so insanely risky.
Yeah, I've run events, and it keeps you up at night big
what
time.
A bad business.
Yeah. Yep.
So, if you have a reasonable estimate on how something is going to perform, and you don't take action in supporting it and creating it and allowing it to flourish in whatever market, like, we're doing a disservice to our organizers. So we've definitely like put our necks on the line in a lot of cases, in the form of capital. And it's worked in a lot of cases, and it's, we've definitely stumbled a few times as well. So,
last question on where you're going next. On building a recommendation engine and thinking about curating experiences and tapping into the data to put things together. What you've done this for a while and learned a lot of lessons. What do you, in how you've grown Showpass, what do you carry with you to the next stage to be able to scale it and change it? Are there any lessons learned that you reflect on as a founder, like that's what's going to get me to the next steps?
Yeah, I'd say this, and I think this is something that's overrated or underrated in a lot of ways, which is funny because of the Gary Vaynerchuk thing. But I think when people start a company, they think that there's these time frames, and whether it's imposed by investors or staff or life, whatever it is, these time frames. So I got this time to scale, I got this time to build, I got this time to sell. Like, over the time in which the company's been built, our company, I've always said this to the staff that's come in, and we've got staff that's been with me since, for over a decade now. Like, it's a long time where we've worked together, whether it's on this project or something else. But I've always said this is like, I don't know how long Showpass is going to last. And not to say like it's going to go out of business, but if one day we decide to buy 16 other companies, or somebody decides to buy us 10 years, 15 years, 100 years from now, whatever the case is, my position is that I've always recruited for life. I've wanted to build a company with people that I wanted to build every other company, whether it was this one or the next one, with. And that I think is something that's completely overlooked, because people recruit for a role. And in a lot of aspects, when you build a company, you don't consider what this person's relationship with you will look like in 20 years.
Yeah.
You're successful with this business, and maybe there's another business after. That to me is, I think, something that I'll always continue to like really help drive the recruitment strategy and the building of a business and whatever business I decide to do next. That will drive a lot of the narrative in recruiting, and it's decision making, because that long-term decision making, you've got these people, you say, nobody's forcing us to sell, nobody's forcing us to raise money, nobody's forcing us to do anything. When we talk about like what's happened during COVID with us, like we made decisions not to lay off people. We made all these very unique decisions that every single one of the long-term employees understood, because they viewed it as a long-term employment situation, not I'm only going to be here for a year or 2 years or 18 months or whatever.
Relationship-based growth.
Exactly. I'm going to be with these people for the next 10 years. Like, we need to make the decision for the next 10 years, even if it's 2 years. Yeah. So I think that has been a incredible thing to learn this early in my career, that I'll definitely bring into every, all these decisions that I got to make in the future.
Wise words. Lucas, thanks so much for joining us and sharing the journey on Showpass. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
For more info on what's happening at Inventures, you can visit digitaljournal.com and check out a Showpass event near you.